What is good, everyone? Eric Oakley of Infinite Discs. This is going to be an updated kind of like end of the season in the bag. What has gone in, what has gone out. I definitely have some new additions plus some discs that have cycled out. So I'm going to jump right into it. So starting off, putters. Still have the Glow P Blend Alpacas. These are amazing. They're nice and stiff, but they season in perfectly. I get a nice grip with them after I use them for a little bit, and that's when you start to see a little bit more glide kick in. They're a great stable putter, so I get a nice finish. So on those longer putts, I just put it slightly out to the right, knowing it's gonna fade back in. Plus the Shinobi stamp, thanks to Thought Space for helping make that happen. Sticking with the alpaca, I have a D Blend alpaca. This is the same one I had from the beginning of the season. Still has great stability. This one's on the stiffer side, so I really like it for throwing and touch approaches. It complements the other putters I have in the bag super well. Yeah, just gotta have it. I know whenever I'm throwing this, I'm just completely and totally confident. Still have a soft Envy. Loving this for when I want a little bit more distance than my alpaca. Basically identical in flight, but this one just goes so much farther. So on touch approaches, I'm throwing the alpaca, but most tee shots or longer throws, I'm leaning on the Envy. Plus this one's a little bit softer, so this one can sit on the ground a little bit easier than that D Blend alpaca. Thank you, James, for making this disc so popular. Berg, still going strong. I have a Bjorg finally in the bag. I was using the Berg for a while, but going into the end of the season, started tossing around the Bjorg. Loving it. This disc surprised me the most on forehands. It was wild how good it was on these touchy approaches, but on these forehand approaches, it blew my mind. So the Berg is a mainstay in my bag, and I'm stoked to be throwing one of my own. Pretty cool. The first new addition in the bag is the Popcorn from Clash. So this was a disc that I saw similarities to the Envy, but it flew more like my Fierce. So I was a huge fan of the Paige Pierce Fierce, but this just kind of had a little bit more go to it. So when I was throwing those longer turnover shots, I wasn't having to sacrifice any distance, which I would say it just felt like it was easier to make it fly farther. I think the Fierce goes plenty far, but this just has that kind of Envy sneaky distance, which was really, really nice. So this was a good addition to the bag. Loving it in the steady plastic, and it's effortless on some sweet turnovers, hyzer flip lines when I need that putter. So this is like when I want a straighter finish and or some finish to the right on a putter throw. So awesome. New addition. Looking good. Moving on up. Glow Z Zone. Looking sweet, aka the Zonio. I throw a lot of more stable backhand approaches with this as well, along with tons of forehand shots. Love it. Loves a slight hyzer release, but you can still rip it hard and flat. And I think that was where I saw Adam Hammis throw a zone, and watching him kind of rip one hard with his old Glow Z Zone that would stay straight for so long and not have much play to left or right, but then would just kind of check up at the end. That's a really, really unique flight, and it's also super good on some approaches. Zone's good. I still have the Terminal Velocity Ursus. This thing, replaced my Justices and was instantly one of my favorite discs to throw. I can get a little bit more distance out of it, but I still have that touch and overstability that I'm looking for in this kind of utility mid-range slot. Big fan, loving it. I can just rely on this disc. So check them out. I have thrown the Glow premium plastic of this as well. Super, super nice, but this is the one I've been bagging all year, so why not keep using it? It's super good. Next up, another new addition from Clash again. I have the Berry. A funny story, left my Claymore in Norway, not sure where, maybe in the open field. I have no idea what happened to it, but she's gone. And bummed to not be throwing the Claymore, but the Berry was an immediate fix. Like this thing filled my bag, and I think this one actually flies a little bit better on backhands than the Claymore did. I still have Claymores in my backup stuff just in case, so I'm still testing it out alongside of this, but the Berry offered some really, really cool options, and I've been a huge fan. forehands amazingly, still works on all those same touch shots that I was using the Claymore for. So cool to see another Clash disc enter the bag. Been enjoying collaborating with them. It's been super fun. So Zeddy Berry, super good. Up next, got a pair of Ethos Pathfinders. I still have this Snake Eagle Pathfinder. This is way easier to hyzer flip. It's similar to the Berry, but just different enough to where I have a reason to bag both, but I won't really forehand this one much. So this one's used for more backhand flip ups to maybe even some turnovers. But if I want super turn, I go to the Berry, where if I know I want it to hold the turn, where I know the Pathfinder might have a little bite at the end. And then the Tour Series Eric Oakley Pathfinder came out with the Shinobi that's similar to the Alpaca stamp. We have the Snow Leopard on there, super cool. This is just my bread and butter mid-range. I use this for all types of shots, hyzer flips, holding hyzers, like slow panning turnovers, you name it. I do it all with this mid-range and this plastic and this stamp. It's awesome. I'm stoked about it. Pathfinders are sick. New addition to the bag. It's not Clash, but the DGA Quake. I was throwing the Glow Reactor from MVP, which is amazing mid-range, but I needed something that had a bigger step up for my Pathfinders, and I think the Reactor was a little too close to my Pathfinders, and I was running into issues where I was kind of like, I should have thrown the Pathfinder. I should have thrown the Reactor. Where now I know that all straight shots, all everything is Pathfinder, and anything stable is a Proline Quake. I know these are super good. I've heard the Noah Mainsville ones are a little bit straighter, so that could be something if you're looking for a straight but slightly stable mid, check those out. But this Proline is very stable. I'm able to rip this thing super hard. I know it's only going to get better as it seasons in, but that's what makes me really excited about this disc, is that I can kind of tune this in to be like a really versatile mid-range that complements my Pathfinder perfectly. On to Fairway drivers. Still have my Metal Flake Glow Centurion. This is the one I got from my buddy Alex Tews, and this one is super money. I've been comparing this to the Halo Centurion. The Halo Centurion is being a little bit more stable, kind of closer to the Metal Flake Color Glow Exodus, but this one flips naturally. I get some great turnover shots. Centurion is good. Metal Flake Color Glow Exodus. This thing is money. I was lacing lines with this disc. This disc gave me more confidence in the woods than probably any other disc, and I'll talk about it when I get to the Votum, but I've learned that I have a really consistent release on slight hyzer, and now that I've learned that, I've been really leaning on it and trying to incorporate that to where I can throw that angle, but just change the disc for the type of shot I need. So Exodus gave me a ton of confidence, helped me kind of figure out my form and my throw. It's super good. Super good. And if you checked out the rocket ship stamps and you got one of those, thank you for supporting me and supporting Infinite. It's really cool. On to Ethos Votum. This thing is amazing. So I've talked about the, I have like my Centurion to be like, if you're an Innova guy, Leopard. My Exodus is my T-Bird. This is my Eagle. They're all similar in speed and feel, but they all do different things. So again, I can throw these three discs all on a slight hyzer and get three totally different flights, but not feel like I'm having to change anything or how it feels in my hand. And that's when the disc gets really good. So Votums are good. Simply put, this thing flies amazing, gives me nice stability, and I can use it in the woods and make it work. All right, coming up. Next up, we got a pair of Dynasties. Super sweet. I have the Swirly S-Blend that I was bagging for quite some time. This is understable, flies amazing, effortless flip up. I use this in the woods. I use this for longer turnovers. I've even rolled it a few times. Super good. The S-Blend Dynasty is your just dead straight out of the box and just only gets better with age. You get just this effortless drift out of it. And then to complement that, we have the Metal Flake Color Glow Dynasty. This one is a little bit more overstable than the Swirly S-Blend, so I can rip it a little bit harder and I can really trust it. Now, I'm not throwing this as hard as I would, say, a Scepter or something like that, but I'm throwing this the same way I would throw, you know, a seasoned Emperor, but I'm getting that same shot in a 9-speed, which is really, really nice and helps a lot when we're in the woods or I don't need as much distance. So Dynasty is super good, and big thanks to Infinite for helping make this mold happen. It's definitely helped me save some strokes on the course. Go ahead and jump into the Scepters as we just talked about them. I have the Swirly S-Blend Scepter. This one is really nice for flip ups that are just a little bit more stable than my Metal Flake Color Glow, and I can trust this one a little bit more on some backhands. Very, very good mold in that 9-speed overstable slot. It's funny, but this one's just a tick straighter, so I don't have to try as hard to make it work. And then to complement that, the Metal Flake Color Glow Scepter, this thing is overstable. This just fights and, you know, wants to find the ground, and I can rip on it, I can trust it into the wind, I can throw some skip shots. Super good. I mean, you need to have a utility disc like this in your bag. This fits that slot perfectly. A new disc that I've been hyping up that is definitely going to kind of fight with the Scepter for a slot, but this is one that I was able to collaborate with Clash and help design the Spice. This thing is awesome. So cool, feels great in the hand. It's just a tick faster than the Scepter, but you're getting similar stability. I'd put it between the Swirly S-Blend and the Metal Flake Color Glow when it comes to stability. I'm getting that extra speed, so I'm not having to sacrifice distance. So this is amazing for forehands. I'm getting effortless distance, but also having that reliability of that overstability. I'm continuing to test with it. It reminds me of some of my older Felons that I used to throw, the seasoned ones like the red one or my prototype Felons. And I'd give it vibes of very similar to a 10-speed Sexton Firebird. This is a winner. Big thanks to Clash for collaborating with me, and we're doing some cool things. Also, I got to design a disc. Is that good? Ethos Mantra. This thing is flippy, but the right kind of flippy for me, where I'm using this mainly for rollers, but this is probably one of my most used discs in the woods when I'm in trouble. I have thrown some pretty outrageous, you know, hyzer forehands that finish to the left, where I'm able to start it out on that hyzer and allow for it to stand all the way up and have it pull all the way over to the left. So some really, really weird lines can be done with the Mantra if you put the time in, and I would highly suggest you all work with your understable discs. It can do so much for your game. Mantra's a great one. Loving the Ethos plastic. This is one of the old Skull ones. Big fan. Thought Space is killing it. Up next is a new mold, the Ethos Construct. This thing is great. I was throwing the Onyx and I lost it at MVP this year, and I was super sad, but I had the opportunity because I was hanging out with the Thought Space tent, and I just kept hearing great things. Matt Bell was talking big things about this disc, and I kept hearing about how good it was, so I said, I have to try this disc. So I went down, used that time between that and USDGC to really give it a try, and it instantly made my bag and was flying very similar to my Onyx. I'm hitting this, loving that hyzer release. It's a little bit more stable and faster than other discs. It gets a little bit more distance than, say, a Spice, but flies very similar to a Votum, but just faster. So it was easy and natural to kind of graduate to start throwing this disc. Big fan, and I'm loving it. So Construct is good. On to a couple new additions in the 11-speed slot. We'll go to another Clash disc, the Pepper. This disc surprised me with how overstable it was, but how controllable it was. It doesn't have a lot of ground play, which is wild for a disc at this speed. I was able to throw kind of just playing darts with this disc, where I was able to rip it out on hyzer, both forehand and backhand, and really aim for the pin and know that I was gonna land and stay close. It's wild at how little it plays on the ground, and I'm a huge fan of this disc. I went into some of the deep waters at Des Moines just to get this thing back, and you've seen that water at Des Moines. It's not great. So, Pepper, great addition. Definitely opened up a cool slot in my bag to stretch out some of those overstable shots. Another one that was in and out of the bag is the Chandler Fry Tour Series Surge. I really started liking this disc as a complement to my Emperors, where I could throw It just bridged the gap between Emperor and Dynasty, where I was able to kind of throw some more controlled lines. And who doesn't want to throw a Chandler Fry Surge? Chandler Fry is one of the best people in the game, so this one's amazing. Lots of different colors, and Discraft is killing it when it comes to the color stuff. So love to see it. Great disc. Simply put, this was used a lot in the woods. Next up is probably one of my most used discs in my bag, and that's the Emperor. I am bagging five Emperors that all do different things. I have tons of different stabilities, and I have 3 different plastic types. So my most understable is the Concrete Emperor. This is a 172, it's a little bit lighter too. So this one, again, flies just like my Dynasties, but in a 12-speed body, and just goes and goes and goes. So it's really, really nice in the woods. I have thrown it for some backhand turnovers, but I tend to lean on an S-blend for most of the backhand. So this is mainly used for forehands, especially when I want that flip up or I need that extra distance. Super, super good. Talking about S-blends, Emperors, this is probably my farthest flying Emperor in the bag. This one loves a good hyzer release and just goes. It's awesome. I've used it for some forehands as well that are a little bit more stable than the Concrete. And I can really, really trust this disc to give me the distance I need. So to complement that Emperor, I have another S-blend. This one is a little bit domier. Love to see that heartbeat. And this one just has similar turn, but just has a little bit more bite at the end. So I can really rip into this one and trust it. This one gets me plenty of distance, and this probably has been one of the most thrown outside of that and the purple one that are just bombers. They work so good for me, and S-blend Emperors, super sweet. Thank you, GG, for making these happen and putting them out there. On to the newest addition to the Emperor lineup, the Halo Emperor. I have 2 of these, one that's a little bit newer. This one is nice and seasoned in. I can rip this into some headwinds and trust that I'm still gonna get distance. So this is awesome when I need that, or if I just want, good stability on the hyzer without sacrificing distance. And I'll throw this blue and white one when I kind of want destroyer-like flight, but I still want a little bit of distance. I can really rip on this. I can push it over and trust that it's gonna fight out. I can rip it on hyzer and not really sacrifice distance. I can pinpoint my distances really, really well with this disc. Also, very good, both of these very good on forehands when I'm really trying to push a disc out there and let it fly. Next up, the Destroyer. Gotta shout out my boy Calvin Heimberg. I've been throwing the 2, one of them that I got from him, the other one I picked up at Flight Factory. These have been instant winners in my bag. They saved me a bunch of strokes. The wind picked up. I knew I could just lean on the Destroyer. I have last year's and I have this year's. Super, super sweet. This one's more seasoned, so I get a little bit of drift out of it, but it's just so stable, and it has a more left finish than the Emperor. So that's why it's really nice. And so if I don't need distance, I'm pulling out the Destroyer. But if I want consistency, that's why I'm throwing the Destroyer over the Emperor, which is really nice. Then I have this year's that is just overstable. I know I can rip on this and trust that it's going to just kind of hyzer out of the air and make me look kind of stupid, which I'm totally fine with, because I need a disc like this, and everybody needs a disc like this when you're on tour. Backhand, forehand, the Destroyer does it. It's good. And the fastest disc in my bag is probably one of the most unique. You guys might remember it. The RPM Kotare. This thing, it says it's a 12 speed, feels like a 13, almost like a 15 speed. Very, very flat, very, very overstable. This is a utility disc to the T. It's so wild how crazy I can get skip shots. I've thrown this for some outrageous get out of trouble thumbers, cut rollers, you name it. Probably my best scramble shot this year was at D-Glow. I threw it deep into the woods, hacked an overhand out to a perfect landing zone and saved par from a spot that I don't think a disc has ever been. So the RPM Kotare, huge fan. This thing has saved me a ton of strokes. And also to support the guys out in New Zealand, it feels great. They're amazing people who are doing great things for the sport, so you love to see it. Thanks everybody for watching. This is the updated in the bag. It's been super fun. Again, don't forget to go to Upper Park, Oakley 10 if you want to save some money on some of the best bags on the market. And then go check out all these companies and go just check out people who are supporting disc golf. That's what it's all about. We're all really trying to make the sport better. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.